Greetings and welcome to lecture number 4 on unit number 2, fluid statics. This lecture we are going to discuss the prime property of fluid static, that is pressure and its measurement. The content of this lecture, first of all, we'll see the different terminologies related with the pressures. Then the basic device which is used for pressure measurement, that is manometer, and their different types. Then the measurement of pressure and pressure differences through manometer. Then the Bourdon pressure gauge, its working principle. Then few snaps of modern pressure gauge used in commercial systems. These are some units of pressures. Pressure is generally expressed in different units, and mainly the commercial, it is atmospheric unit, that is 1 atmosphere. So it is expressed in Pascal. So the Pascal 1 atmosphere is equal to 1 in 1.01325 bar into 10 raised to 5 Pascal. So 1 bar, that is equal to 10 raised to 5 Pascal. Then kilopascal, it may be expressed in mm of Hg. It may be expressed in torr, in bar, millibar. So millibar is 10 raised to 3. 1 millibar, that is equal to 1 bar, that is equal to 10 raised to 3 millibar. Is to be precise, it's 1013.25 millibar. Then PSI, commercially most of the systems they are provided with this MPS unit, that is pound per square inch. So 1 atmosphere, that is equal to 14.7 psi. So these are some values with respect to an atmosphere, that is in atmospheric pressure. But these are the different units which are used in practice for the pressures and their conversion with respect to 1 atmosphere. So most important, the first terminology, that is atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure, that is, it is also called as the barometric pressure. It is the pressure exerted by the envelope of atmosphere, or that is a force per unit area exerted by an atmospheric column. Atmospheric column, that is the entire body of air above the specified area. The atmospheric pressure can be measured with mercury barometer, and that's why it is called as barometric pressure, which indicates the height of the column of mercury that exactly balances the weight of the column of atmosphere over the barometer. So generally barometric pressure, it is expressed in mm of Hg. So atmospheric pressure is generally 760 mm of Hg. So as far as atmospheric pressure is concerned, it's that pressure decreases with increasing the altitude. We can say because the air column above the specified area goes on decreasing, that's why the pressure also goes on decreasing. So the highest pressure we can find at the sea level. So that is at the sea level, that is 1000 around, and to be precise, that is 1013.25 millibar. That is, we can consider this is a standard atmospheric pressure. And everywhere, whatever the atmospheric pressure, that is called as the local atmospheric pressure. So the two terminologies used in atmospheric pressure: the standard atmospheric pressure, that is the pressure at the sea level, and the other locations, that is the pressure at that particular location. So obviously, Pune is at the higher location, higher level than the sea level. So atmospheric pressure at Pune is slightly less than the standard atmospheric pressure. It is somewhere around that is 900. So 960 to be precise, 960 millibar, or we can say that is 0.9 bar, 0.98 bar. So because it is slightly above the sea level. So as the level increases, the atmospheric pressure goes on decreasing. So we can see within the atmospheric zone, that is in troposphere 0 to 10 kilometers, the atmospheric pressure decreases up to around 250 millibar. And beyond that, it continuously decreases. And from the around 35 kilometers above the sea level, the atmospheric pressure becomes 0. That indicates there are no air molecules present in this particular zone. So Mount Everest is the highest elevation of the ground, that is 8.8 kilometers from the sea level. So where the atmospheric pressure is around 400 millibar. So like that in troposphere, stratosphere, that is the area of troposphere is 0 to 10 kilometers, where the atmospheric pressure is reduces up to 250 millibar. This is a Boeing Airways when it travels at altitude around just about 10 kilometers, where the atmospheric pressure is 200 millibar. So as the height increases from the ground level, the atmospheric pressure decreases. So this is a graphical representation of variation of atmospheric pressure with respect to level. And so we can say here there is no atmosphere present because no air molecules present above 35 kilometers from the ground. So these are some atmospheric pressure can be measured or can be expressed in different units. In Pascal, it is generally 1.01325 into 10 raised to 5 Pascal. In kilopascal is it 101.325 kilopascal. So these figures you have to memorize lifelong, because every time whenever you come across some convergence, we need to add these values depending upon this. One atmosphere, generally 1 atmosphere is equal to 1. It is 101. So atmospheric pressure is also called as 1 atmosphere. So in millimeter of Hg, atmospheric pressure is 760 mm of Hg. In torr also, it is 760 torr. In pound per square inches, that is PSI, it is commercial unit, that is 14.7. Generally, these values are required because in commercial unit, suppose the infiltration of tire where most of the commercial gauges are in PSIs. So even in our tire, the pressure is around 32, 35 PSIs. So it's just about 2 bar, that is 2.2, 2.3 bar. So 14.7 PSI. So that we have to convert into bar. Most of the, so 1 bar is equivalent to 14.7 PSI. So 1 bar is nothing but 1.01325 bar. So these are the values of atmospheric pressure. So if everywhere, if any pressure, absolute pressure, if it is less than these values, we can say the standard, then the pressure is below sea level. So these are the standard atmospheric pressure expressed in different units. So this is the first terminology of pressure, that is atmospheric pressure. We can say that pressure exerted by envelope of air on the specified surface, that is called as atmospheric pressure. It may be called as a standard atmospheric pressure or the local atmospheric pressure. So depending upon the conditions, standard atmospheric pressure is generally measured at the sea level, which is the maximum possible atmospheric pressure. So other terminologies, that is absolute pressure. Absolute pressure is the sum of the gauge pressure and atmospheric pressure. For reason we will explore later, in most cases of absolute pressure in fluids cannot be negative because fluid push rather than pull. So the smallest absolute pressure is 0. So absolute pressure cannot be negative. Is generally the lowest is 0. So 0 atmospheric pressure or 0 absolute pressure, that means that there is no molecules present, no fluid molecules are present. So mainly that absolute pressure is the sum of gauge pressure and atmospheric pressure. So atmospheric pressure is added. So gauge pressure is the pressure related to the atmospheric pressure. So gauge pressure is most of the cases is positive for pressure above atmospheric and is negative for pressure below it. So these are some gauges we can express, that is here. These are the commercial gauges. You maybe come across some of this. Here the unit of the pressure is given in bar. So the lowest is 0. That doesn't mean the absolute pressure is 0 here. So absolute pressure is atmospheric because all the gauges measure pressure with respect to atmospheric pressure. So whatever the gauge pressure plus atmospheric pressure, that gives you the absolute pressure. So vacuum pressure is the pressure below atmospheric. So it is generally reduced from the atmospheric pressure. So in order to calculate absolute pressure when the pressure is below atmospheric, suppose this is in mm of Ig. Suppose if the absolute pressure is, suppose the gauge shows is 200 mm of Ig, then absolute pressure in that case it's 760 minus 200, that is 560 mm of Ig. So that absolute pressure is 560 mm of Ig. That means the absolute pressure is below atmospheric. So these are the gauges which are used for measuring the gauge pressure. So this is used for measuring positive pressure because there is no level. It only moves in clockwise direction. So, and this is used only for negative pressure. It is not suitable for positive pressure because it moves only in anti-clockwise direction. So another gauge, it can be suitable for measurement of positive pressure as well as negative pressure because the pointer moves clockwise as well as anti-clockwise direction. So these are the Bourdon pressure gauges which are commercially used for various systems for measurement of pressures. So that is, this is called as a pressure gauge, this is called as a vacuum gauge, and this is called as a composite gauge, which can be used for measurement of positive pressure as well as a negative pressure. So these are the terminologies, again, absolute pressure, gauge pressure, and vacuum pressure. So we can show it with the help of this diagram where the absolute, this is a line of zero absolute pressure. So this is a line of atmospheric pressure. This is a gauge pressure. So the generally all the gauges shows a zero reading at the atmospheric pressure. You can see in earlier diagrams, all it shows zero reading when it is not connected to any system. So obviously it shows zero. Now, if it is connected to the system and if it shows some reading, that is called as a gauge pressure. If that reading is below atmospheric, that is called as a vacuum pressure. So absolute pressure in this particular case is atmospheric pressure plus gauge pressure. So this is absolute pressure when the pressure is positive, and absolute pressure when the pressure is negative, then the with respect to atmosphere because it goes below atmospheric. So with respect to the reference point, so this is absolute pressure. So absolute pressure is the pressure measured with reference to absolute zero pressure. So if the pressure is measured with reference to absolute zero, so this is called as absolute pressure when the pressure is above atmospheric. So this is the actual pressure. And this is actual pressure if the pressure is below atmospheric. And these differences are generally a gauge pressures. So the absolute pressure minus atmospheric pressure, that is a gauge pressure. Or we can say in case of positive pressure, we need to add a gauge pressure in atmosphere to get absolute values. So generally for pressure calculations or the calculation purpose, the absolute pressure is considered if only one pressure value is there. So we have to be careful which pressure is to be taken if the pressure is considered as absolute and more than one pressures are used. So everywhere the pressure is considered to be absolute. If the pressure is considered as gauge, everywhere we have to consider the gauge pressure. Otherwise, if one pressure is measured in gauge, one pressure value taken in gauge pressure, one pressure value is given in absolute pressure, then there is an error in calculations or the answers will be wrong. So we have to be careful while considering the pressures. So as per the standard, it is recommended you should consider absolute pressure for calculations. Like the temperature, we consider if there is difference, it doesn't matter. But if there is a ratio in pressure, suppose P is equal to MRT, in that case, P should be in absolute, that is Kelvin, because the SI unit of temperature in Kelvin. So that's why temperature is taken as Kelvin there. So similarly, the pressure value for calculation is considered as absolute. But we have to be judicious while considering the atmospheric pressure or gauge pressure. So if there is a difference between two gauge pressures, then it doesn't matter. But everywhere we have to consider the gauge pressure if we have to consider gauge. Otherwise, it is more convenient or safe to consider the absolute pressure everywhere. So this is about the pressure terminologies. So in summary, till we have discussed the pressure terminology, that is atmospheric pressure, absolute pressure, gauge pressure, vacuum pressure. So absolute pressure, it is the pressure with respect to atmosphere or with respect to zero pressure. So this is a zero pressure line where the pressure is absolutely zero. Even atmospheric pressure is also zero there. So this is about different terminologies of pressures. So in order to measure these pressures, different devices are used. So one of the basic devices we can say that is called the manometers. So manometer may be classified as simple manometer. In simple manometer, there are two types, piezometer and YouTube manometer. And the differential manometer, where we have to measure the pressure difference between 2 points. So in differential manometer, there are two types, YouTube differential manometer and inverted YouTube differential manometer. And the micromanometers, which are also called as a single column manometer. Instead of two limbs, only one limb is used. And in that case, again, there are two types, that is single column manometer and inclined single column manometer. So these are the different types of manometers used in practice. The manometers are considered as a basic devices used for the measurement of pressures. So most of the commercial pressure measuring devices are calibrated with the help of manometer. So we can say the most accurate or the fundamental device of measuring pressure is the manometer. We can see one by one. First of all, we'll see the simple manometer. It works on the principle that it's one end of the tube. It mainly consists of a glass tube. Glass tube has two ends. One end is connected to the point where the pressure is to be measured, and the other end remains to the atmosphere. Simple manometer is especially used to measure pressure at a particular point. First, the common type of simple manometer is piezometer. So piezometer is the simplest form of manometer which can be used for measuring moderate pressure of the liquid. It mainly consists of a glass tube inserted in a vessel or in a pipe, we can say, containing liquid whose pressure is to be measured. The tube extends vertically upward to such a height that liquid can freely rises into the tube without flowing. So the care to be taken that whatever the pressure, that liquid should not flow out of this tube. Otherwise, we cannot measure the exact pressure there. The pressure at any point in the liquid is indicated by the height of the liquid in the tube. So this H is indicating the equivalent pressure, which can be read on the scale. So this is in meter, or we can say in centimeter. But this H value is not called as only height. So this is called as a pressure head. So don't get confused between pressure head and only height. This is height of liquid column. But while expressing the unit of this H, it is meter of this liquid. Suppose in this particular vessel, if it is water, so this H is measured in meter of water column. So if this is suppose some oil, so then the H is measured in meter of that oil. So this H is meter of some liquid. So it is not only a height, it is or that is called as a pressure head. It is measured in meter of some liquid. And in order to convert into a conventional pressure intensity, that is, it is multiplied by gamma. This is according to the hydrostatic law that we have discussed in previous lecture, that is P is equal to rho gh or P is equal to gamma h. So in order to convert pressure head into pressure, we have to multiply by gamma. So gamma is the specific weight of that particular fluid. Then this pressure is in Newton per meter square. If the gamma is taken as Newton per meter cube at a specific weight. So this is a pressure intensity. So manometer doesn't give directly pressure intensity. It generally gives a pressure head in meter of some liquid. So if we multiply a specific weight of that particular liquid, it gives the pressure intensity. That is in Pascal, or we can say Newton per meter square. So this is about a piezometer. It is mainly used for measuring the pressure at a particular point, or it is also used as a level indicator. In most of the systems, it is the simplest device because it consists of only single limb, but it has many drawbacks because it cannot be used for measurement of the gas pressure because gas is invisible. So if the pipe containing gas, the gas is flowing through this particular pipe. So whatever the gas rises into the tube, we cannot uh, we cannot see the level of the gas in the tube, so we cannot use this particular device for measurement of gas pressure. We cannot use this particular device for measurement of very high pressure, because if the pressure is very high, proportionately length is to be increased. So this particular device is not suitable for measurement of high pressure. It is especially suitable for measurement of small or moderate pressure, and only for liquid pressure we can. Again, if the pressure here it is negative pressure, then it is not possible in this particular orientation. The orientation is slightly different from the inverted tube is used. In that case, that liquid is sucked in the tube. So it is generally not suitable for measurement of negative pressure. So these are the three limitations of piezometer. Uh, in some cases, it is used, but not convenient or not recommended to use for negative pressure. So these are the three limitations of the piezometer. It is not suitable for measurement of very high pressure, not suitable for measurement of gas pressure, and not suitable for measurement of negative pressure. Because in negative pressure, so the liquid will not rise in the tube, rather it will suck liquid. The pressure is below atmosphere. The atmospheric pressure forces this column, and we cannot see the column here. So these three drawbacks we can overcome with the other manometer type of simple manometer, that is U-tube manometer. A U-tube manometer is mainly consists of a glass tube bent in U shape, and one end of which is connected to the point at which pressure is to be measured, and the other remains open to the atmosphere as shown in figure. So this is U-tube manometer. It is called as U-tube manometer because its shape is like letter capital U. That's why it is called as U-tube manometer. It is again a glass tube. Again, as per the principle of simple manometer, one end is connected to the gauge point, another end is open to the atmosphere. Now it overcomes the drawbacks of piezometer. In order to measure the pressure of gas, we can use, because in U-tube manometer, another fluid is used that is called as a manometric fluid. So this is a manometric fluid, which is slightly denser than or it is a visible fluid, and it may be a denser than the flowing fluid in order to accommodate the large pressure range, so that we can measure the higher pressure as well. So U-tube manometer, it is suitable for measurement of gas pressure because the gas pushes the manometric fluid, and the level of measurement of manometric fluid, it gives the pressure of the gas. So this is a deflecting fluid, we can say, or the deflection of this manometric fluid is related to the pressure. It is also suitable for negative pressure as well, because in the negative pressure, the atmospheric pressure, if it is greater, the atmospheric pressure forces this manometric fluid, and so the level of left limb increases as compared to the level of right limb. So considering these level differences, we can easily recognize whether the system pressure or the pipe pressure, we can say above atmospheric or below atmospheric. So in this case, the pressure is above atmospheric because the pipe pressure, it pushes the manometric fluid against the atmospheric pressure. So obviously, as the level of right limb increases, that means the pressure of the pipe is greater than the atmosphere, and that's why the level increases. As the level of left limb increases, that means the pressure of atmosphere is greater than pipe pressure. That's why the left limb increases. Now, in order to measure the pressure, if we consider the balance point, equilibrium point, and if we equate, then the pressure head H, that is H in meter of water column, we can say. So that is equal to equivalent head of pressure, that is S2, H2S2 minus H1S1. So this is direct equation. So in order to obtain this equation, we can equate the pressures at this particular level. Under equilibrium pressure exerted at this point is equal to the pressure exerted at this point. So we can say that is PA PA into H1 S1 or H1 S1 into gamma. So gamma, we can say the specific weight of water, and then that is equal to H2 S2 gamma. S2 gamma is nothing but a equivalent that is specific weight of this manometric fluid. And by rearranging the term, we can say H is equal to H2 S2 minus S1 H1 S1, because H is nothing but P by gamma. So divided both side by gamma, that is A by gamma, that is H. So this H is nothing but meter of water column. And if suppose this S1 is negligible, suppose if, for example, if this S1 is some lighter than S2, or the manometric fluid is denser than the flowing fluid, then we can neglect this particular term. Or if it is a gas there, then S1 is negligible, almost 10 to minus 3. So this term we can neglect. So by measuring only this particular head, we can measure the pressure head in terms of meter of water column, and then we can convert it into the pressure, that is P is equal to gamma into H. So H is nothing but meter of water column, it is equivalent head of water. But if the fluid is gas, then we can reduce this equation into H2S2. Secondly, this is negative pressure. And negative pressure, similarly, we can call this H is equal to, when it generally comes negative. So this is a gauge pressure. Remember, these are the gauge, because these are the gauges. So all gauges measure gauge pressure. So in order to measure the atmospheric pressure, so we need to add atmospheric pressure here. We need to subtract atmospheric by this H it gives. So while solving problem, this concept will be clear. But this is about the measurement of pressures. So H, you can neglect this H1 S1 if this fluid is gas. So H is equal to minus H2 S2. So in case of measurement of gas pressure, so measuring the height of only one column is sufficient for measurement of pressure. But for liquid having closed densities, then we have to use these expressions. So this is U-tube manometer, which mainly used for measuring pressure at a particular point, we can say. And it overcomes all limitations of piezometry. That's why it is extensively used in most of the systems for measuring pressures, manometers. In addition to that, there are some different terminologies used. That is, already we have discussed atmospheric pressure, absolute pressure, gauge pressure, and vacuum pressure. But while using manometer, there are two terminologies are comes in the picture. So if we use the piezometer, the level of the liquid in the column of the manometer, that is called as H. So this H is also called as a static pressure. So this is called as a static pressure head. And if it measures dynamic head as well, because if the fluid is brought to rest adiabatically here from 1 to 2, so all the kinetic energy is converted into a pressure energy. So whatever the head is there, that is called as a stagnation pressure, or equivalent pressure is called as a stagnation pressure. So these two, HP and HPS. So HP we can call as a static pressure, and HPS we can call as a stagnation pressure head. That is pressure head. So this is a static pressure, equivalent static pressure, that is H into gamma. We can call as equivalent static pressure. So this is called as a dynamic pressure, and the static plus dynamic pressure, that is called as the total pressure, or it is called as a stagnation pressure. So in fluid mechanics, there are few more terminologies used. So mainly these terminologies we use in the dynamics part. that is static and stagnation pressures. Stagnation, the name itself has a meaning. When the fluid is brought to rest adiabatically, means the kinetic energy of the fluid is converted into pressure energy. So this much energy is called as a kinetic energy. That's why it is called the dynamic energy. This is a pressure energy. So pressure energy plus dynamic energy, that is called as a stagnation energy or stagnation pressure. So if it is in Newton per meter square, it is called as the pressures, that is static pressure, dynamic pressure, and stagnation pressures. And if it is only in meter, then it is called as a static head, and this is called as a total head, or we can call as a stagnation head. And the difference, it is called as a dynamic head. So in dynamic topic, we will discuss this terminology in depth again, its significance. So this device is called as a pitot tube also for measurement of stagnation pressures. So these are some additional terminologies used in fluid mechanics, that is static pressure, dynamic pressure, and stagnation pressure. So it is called as pressure when its unit is Newton per meter square, and that is we can convert pressure head into pressure by multiplying the specific weight of that particular fluid. But if it is only in meter, then it is called as static head and stagnation head, or the difference it gives you, that is dynamic head. So these are some additional terminologies of the pressures. Micromanometer, these are some special types of manometer in order to minimize the calculation part. This single column manometer is used. So one limb is replaced by one reservoir, and we can say the level difference or level change in the reservoir is negligible as compared to the level change in the right limb. So here the pressure is measured with the help of this formula. But we can neglect this particular height. So obviously for any variation in the pressure, the change in the liquid level in the left limb, that is delta H, it is comparatively negligible as compared to the level in the right limb. So as such, only one reading in the narrow limb of the manometer need to be taken for all pressure measurements. So it mainly reduces the measurement of H2, H1, we can say this level. And only by measuring the level in the right limb, we can calculate the pressure. It is a gas pressure. This elevation is not. So second, inclined single column manometer, it is mainly increases the sensitivity of the pressure. So especially for small pressure, the right limb is made intentionally inclined. So obviously the vertical column, because vertical column, that is a pressure head, but it spread in the inclined type. So obviously it magnifies. So this type of manometer is useful for measurement of small pressures and is more sensitive than the vertical tube type. And due to inclination, the distance moved by the heavy liquid in the right limb is more. So for example, if the angle alpha is 30 degree, so the distance moved by the heavy is almost double. So if it is 1 centimeter pressure, it shows 2 centimeter. So it magnifies that particular reading. So that's why this particular inclined single column manometer is more sensitive than the single column manometers. The same practice can be used for the conventional YouTube manometer as well, in order to increase the sensitivity of that particular manometer. So these are the manometers, but these are the rarely used manometer, that is single column and inclined single column. The inclined manometers are used means even in normal YouTube manometer, the inclined manometer is used in order to increase the sensitivity of the manometers. Then the most important part, that is measurement of pressure difference using YouTube differential manometer. So second, that is differential manometer. Here the main purpose of differential manometers are to measure the pressure difference between 2 points. Suppose if this is a generalized pipeline, which we consider intentionally inclined pipeline, where the fluid is flowing through this particular pipe, and we have to measure the pressure difference between 2 points, point number 1 and point number 2. So point number 1, the pressure is P1, and point number 2, pressure is P2. And these 2 points are connected to U-tube differential manometer in order to measure the pressure difference. Now, obviously, from this particular diagram, it shows that the pressure at 1 is greater than pressure at 2, because this particular fluid forces the manometric fluid, and so the level in the right limb is more than the level in the left limb. That indicates the pressure at 1 is greater than pressure at 2. We can say that point 1 is at a distance Z1 from the datum surface. Suppose we consider any datum surface. So point 2 is at a distance Z2 from the datum surface. So this distance is called as Z2 minus Z1. So manometric, so the specific weight of the flowing fluid is lambda L. So gamma L, and specific weight of the manometric liquid is gamma M. This is called as X, that is the deflection of manometric fluid. Now, in this case, we cannot call as pressure, because it is not connected to the atmosphere, it is connected to the other point. In differential manometer, both ends are connected to the systems, because we have to measure the pressure difference. So again, from the figure, we can say this distance, because we have to balance the pressures at CD. So after balancing the pressure, suppose the total pressures acting at this point, that is the pressure at this point, that is P1, plus the pressure exerted by this liquid column, that is vertical height is H1, and its specific weight is lambda L. So gamma L into H1, that is the pressure exerted by this liquid column. This is the total pressure on the left limb. Then the total pressure exerted here on the right limb, under equilibrium condition, we can say. This is equilibrium condition. So the pressure exerted here, that is the pressure exerted by the flowing fluid, that is P2, plus the pressure exerted by this column of the flowing fluid. So if we have to calculate the length, that is this column having specific weight is gamma L. In bracket, the distance is, the entire distance is Z2 plus minus Z1 plus H1. So this is the entire distance minus X. So Z1, Z2 minus Z1 plus H minus X. So this is actually a printing mistake. This is Z2 minus Z1 plus H1 and minus X. So this is the distance. That is height of the column. This height I'm talking about. Then plus gamma M into X. This is the height of, or the pressure exerted by this manometric liquid column. So this is the total pressure. So there are 3 pressure intensities acting on this particular column. Pressure intensity of the flowing fluid plus pressure intensity of this liquid column, flowing fluid liquid column, plus pressure intensity of the manometric liquid column. Now, if we simplify this, P1 minus P2 plus gamma into bracket Z1 minus Z2. Actually, it is a printing mistake, Z1 minus Z2. So gamma L into H1 minus this will come this side. So minus gamma L into H1. So these two get cancelled. So minus x into gamma L plus gamma m into x. So this get cancelled. So if we divide both side by gamma L, so P1 minus P2 by gamma L, that is equal to Z2 minus Z1, obviously, plus x into bracket gamma L minus gamma m minus gamma L divided by gamma L. So divide both side by gamma L. Now we take this term here. So it is P1 minus gamma L. It is not 1, it is gamma L minus Z1. So this is minus Z1, so minus minus plus Z1. This is actually plus Z1. It comes here is minus. So minus into bracket P2 by gamma L plus, because it is put inside the bracket, it is minus Z2 actually. That is equal to x into bracket gamma m minus gamma L upon gamma L. This is a mathematical rearrangement. So this is called as a piezometric head. So the addition of static head plus this is potential head. So in detail, we will see the different types of head in dynamics also. So this is piezometric head at point number 1. This is piezometric head at point number 2. So left hand side is the difference in piezometric head. So that is called as H. And this is, if we rearrange this term, x into bracket gamma m by gamma L minus 1. So where H is the difference in piezometric head, X is not, in this case, is a pressure head, it is a deflection of manometric fluid. But H is generally expressed in meter of flowing fluid. So remember, the unit of H is not only meter, to be specified, that is meter of flowing fluid, because we have used the specific weight of this pressure head is measured with reference to specific weight of flowing fluid. That's why it is meter of flowing fluid. X is the deflection. So this particular equation is used extensively while measuring the pressure difference. So directly you can use this particular expression. H is equal to x into bracket gamma m. Gamma m is the specific weight of manometric fluid, and gamma L is the specific weight of the flowing fluid. The same expression can be used in terms of specific gravity, Sm by Sl. So Sm, that is a specific gravity of manometric fluid, and Sl is the specific gravity of flowing fluid with reference to water. So for example, if mercury is used as a manometric fluid, then Sm is nothing but 13.6. And if some water is used as a flowing fluid, then the specific gravity is 1. So 13.6 by 1 minus 1, that is 12.6 is the multiplication factor for this case. If other than water is used, suppose oil having specific weight or specific gravity 0.9, so we can use that is 13.6 by 0.9. So while solving problem, we will come to know how to consider Sm and Sl values. The same expression can be used in terms of, because if we divide both side by gamma, gamma is the specific weight of water. So gamma m by gamma, that is Sm, gamma L by gamma, that is Sl. As per the definition of specific gravity, it is the specific weight of the flowing of any fluid to the specific weight of the water. So this is about the measurement of pressure difference using U-tube differential manometer. So one important statement is that U-tube differential manometer takes into account the elevation part as well. If the pipe is horizontal, then it gives the pressure difference. But if the pipe is inclined or vertical, it gives the difference in piezometric head. It considers the elevation effect as well. So that is not exactly the pressure difference. It is the difference in piezometric head. So very important statement. So YouTube differential manometer, it measures the difference in piezometric head between 2 points. For horizontal pipeline, it measures the pressure difference between 2 points. But for vertical and inclined pipeline, it measures the difference in piezometric head. Okay, or it measures the difference in piezometric head. So that is piezometric head at 1 minus piezometric head at 2. Now the second type that is called as a inverted YouTube differential manometer. So similarly, we can on the similar line we can calculate this. If we take equilibrium pressures corresponding to this point, you can say the pressure exerted because pressure is acting upward. Even the liquid column, it's acting downward, so that is gamma L into H1. That is equal to, that is the pressure acting at this particular point. Pressure acting at this point, that is equating to pressure acting this point. That is under equilibrium condition, we can say, according to static law. So the pressure at this particular point, P2, minus pressure exerted by this column, that is minus gamma M into X, because this is manometric fluid. And the pressure exerted by this column, that is minus gamma L into H2. Then P1 minus P2, that is equal to gamma L into bracket H1 minus H2 minus gamma L. So from figure we can say H1 plus Z1, so corresponding to this point, that is equal to Z2 plus H2 plus X. So instead of H1 minus H2, we can put Z2 minus Z1. So Z2 minus Z1 plus X. So instead of this, we can put this on the figure. So P1 minus P2 into gamma L into bracket Z2 minus Z1 plus X minus this. Now again, divide both sides by gamma L and rearranging, we get. So P1 by gamma L plus Z1 minus P2 by gamma L plus Z2, that is equal to X into bracket gamma L minus gamma M divided by gamma. In rearranging, this is called as a difference in piezometric head. This is called as H, X into bracket 1 minus gamma L by gamma, or the same expression we can use, that is 1 minus Sm by Sl. Again, here we can say H is the difference in piezometric head. It is the pressure difference if the 2 points are at the same level. But in general, it is called as a difference in piezometric head. And again, it is measured in terms of meter of flowing fluid. It is not only meter, but meter of flowing fluid. If the flowing fluid is water, it is meter of water. If flowing fluid is oil, it is meter of oil. Difference in piezometric head or difference in pressure head. X is not pressure head. It is generally a deflection of manometric. So if instead of inverted YouTube differential manometer is used, the difference in piezometric head or pressure difference in case of horizontal, if both levels are or horizontal pipeline, this expression can be used directly. And then multiply this by gamma of flowing fluid, it gives the pressure difference in Newton per meter square. So this is a typical construction of Bourdon pressure gauge, which is most commercially used. Almost 90% applications, the Bourdon pressure gauges are used, where accuracy is not the major constraint, only for monitoring purpose, only for safety purpose. If the gauges are used, the Bourdon gauges are used. So it's typically consists of the Bourdon tube, which is an elliptical size. Then the rack and pinion arrangement connected to the linkage, and it is connected to the elliptical tube. Then pointer is mainly connected to the rack and pinion arrangement. So if the liquid enters into the tube, you can say here, if the liquid is entering into the tube expands and it rotates the pointer in clockwise direction. If the liquid is taken from the tube, generally negative side, uh, then the tube contracts and the pointer moves in anti-clockwise direction. So this way, the Bourdon pressure gauges work. So generally, for the positive pressure, this elliptical tube expands, and this movement is transmitted to the pointer through rack and pinion alignment. So in the positive pressure case, the pointer moves in clockwise direction, and in the negative pressure case, suppose it is contracts, then the reverse motion happens and the pointer moves in anti-clockwise. This is a typical working of Bourdon pressure gauge. But besides these two gauges, so manometer or Bourdon pressure gauges, some more gauges are used commercially for accuracy purpose also. This is absolute pressure, pictorial views of absolute pressure transmitters. This is high temperature pressure transmitters where it can come across with the temperatures of fluids having a very high temperature. And this is the flush diaphragm time pressure transmitters. These are some range differential pressure transmitters. These are the costlier devices where the accuracy is very high and where the measurement part or pressure measurement is stringent, or it can be used for calculation. In that case, these differential pressure transmitters are used. These are some modern pressure sensors which are used in some of the research equipments or where the pressure measurement is a stringent property. So with this, we have completed this particular session. At the end of the session, you should be able to define various pressure terminologies and their measurements. You should be able to discuss the different types of manometers and their measurement techniques and the measurement expressions, like measurement of pressure difference through manometers, in principle of Bourdon pressure gauge, and some you should be able to recognize some of the modern pressure gauges as well. So that's it from this particular lecture. Thank you very much.